Hey guys, it's Ethan from Zimmer Labs. Back to do part 2 of the video for this Phoenix Props Ben Solo Lightsaber. I apologize for how part 1 ended. I was recording and my battery and my camera just shut out and died, and I had no idea and no warning that it was coming, so I couldn't do the rest of the video until I charged the battery, which took overnight. So we're back, we got a full battery, let's finish this up. Where did we leave off? I think I had just turned it on, so let's start there. Remove the pommel, twist to activate kill key. It's your audio cue that power is on. This is actually a good chance to show you guys kind of the details inside the pommel down here. I polished up anything that was kind of a high point, and I acid etched anything that was a low point so that all the little different intricate details kind of pop now. They have a lot of contrast so you can really see them, and there's a lot of really cool little bits in there. I think Phoenix Props did a really nice job with that pommel insert. This time around, the crossguard pommel insert looked very much the same, but it was just a solid hunk of aluminum that had been kind of carved and milled to have the appearance of some little dangles and dingles, but they weren't actually separate things. In fact, this is easy enough to take out. Why don't I show you guys a little closer? To access this, you simply use these two holes in here to unscrew, and it only threads in about, I don't know, 2 turns or so it doesn't need much. And then once you've unscrewed, this whole section does come right off, and if you flip it over, this guy comes right out. So now that it's out, you can actually really get a good close look at what's going on in there. All those little piston looking things are all actually separate metal pieces. These bits are just carved. The ventilation section here is a separate section that slides in. They're more carved than more of these metal pistons. And then each of these posts is actually a screw. So there's a lot of different pieces to this section. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 main pieces plus all the little piston pieces, which there are at least 6 more, if not more than that. So there's at least 15 separate pieces going on inside this little pommel insert, which it's a lot, and it's a lot of detail, and it's a lot of effort that went into designing this. And because there are 16 pieces and a lot of effort went into it, it looks a lot better. You know, they did a really nice job with this. There's a ton of detail here now. Whereas with the crossguard insert, there just was not so much detail. And the detail shows through, you know, a little bit of extra effort, or maybe a lot of extra effort, but it really does go a long way and lends you rewards for the extra effort. The other thing that I like about this setup is that these pieces are all separate and removable, which means if you're building this, it's a whole lot easier to build, because you can really get into it and take it apart and individually work on each piece, you know, and you can do it without having to, like, you could work on this piece without having to go through this little tiny square hole here. You know, you take it out and work on it. So just wanted to mention that, show that to you guys, and give props to Phoenix Props for doing that, for making that work that way. It's really, it's a big difference. This screw, like the crossguard that they did, is one of 3 screws that you have to remove to access the internal chassis. There's one here, one here, one here. And just like with the crossguard, I can't stand that design, and it's way too much effort to have to go through to open this guy up. If you want to show off your crystal chamber, or you want to access the inside of your chassis at a con, or just on the fly, or maybe if you're outside, or I don't know, at a movie release, you don't want to have to take these 3 screws out and keep a screwdriver with you and, I don't know, put them in your pocket and hope you didn't lose them. It's just too much. So same solution as I had with the crossguard. I used nylon rivets, but I did chrome the heads because black rivets are going to look terrible right here. So nice chrome heads on these guys, and all you do is you just push them in. When you want to open this up, you grab them and you pull them out. Push in, pull out, simple as that. No twisting, no threads to worry about stripping, no hex screw to worry about stripping, nothing like that. But let's get back into the internals here. The crystal reveal is accessed simply by sliding this apart like that. It does stop where you want it to, so for display purposes this is not going to fall out, even though the chassis does extend down here. That was accomplished using just a set screw right here, which keeps the chassis from coming any further than you want it to, but it's nice because it's got a nice baseline down here, which is where it lines up to. Fire it up for you guys so you can see it. This is one of the universal crystal chassis designs that Goth 3 Designs designed and made available through Shapeways for MHS builds or just custom builds in general. I opted to go for this one because I really love the design of this, and because it was significantly less expensive than the metal master chassis, crystal chassis components that are designed to go with the master chassis. These bits were like $250 or so, whereas the master chassis works out to be somewhere near $300 or $400 at least for the metal parts. So because this was more of a budget build for David, he didn't have the budget to throw everything at it like he did with the crossguard. So I wanted to do as much as I could for him, but still keep it at a reasonable price. So this allowed me to do that, but it's really gorgeous nonetheless. It's got a really cool triple helix polished brass internal section, which is 2 sections, which houses the quartz crystal, and then on the outside you have this polished stainless steel cage. That was printed in a black matte stainless steel that I sanded and polished to get it shiny. But the stainless steel is just really nice, and it's consistent. The look, the finish is consistent throughout the whole saber. So this really just does work, and it looks as if it was meant to be there. And the size of the crystal chamber really works with the whole setup. Doesn't look like it's a custom build at all. It looks like it was intended to be this saber. Next up, this is something that I actually just noticed about 2 seconds ago, right before I started filming. This is the blade plug that goes with this guy, but this guy I think looks better. David, this is totally your call. I'll send you whichever one you want, or if you want both, we can work on that too. But I think this is just, aesthetically, I think this guy looks better with this blade plug. It's a very simple blade plug. It's just edge lit all the way around. It's got a nice, thin, elegant lit circle. And it has a whole bunch of different layers of relief to it. But it's just an architectural kind of styled blade plug. And it looks terrific in conjunction with the rest of what's going on up here. I don't think that the video is doing it justice. In person, it really does look like it's supposed to be the blade plug for it. I think probably they missed an opportunity here, but maybe it's just me and maybe I'm wrong. As you guys can hear, it's definitely all smooth swing fonts on this guy. The buttons work perfectly If you listen real close, you can even hear the clicking. Can't beat that. Nice, really smooth action on the buttons, which is something you really want to shoot for when you're building a saber like this, because you don't want to have buttons that are fiddly or get stuck or catch or, you know, don't work sometimes. You want them to work exactly the way they're supposed to. This guy was the challenge. I think the biggest challenge with building this saber was the programming, because this is not a lightsaber I've ever done before, and it's not really similar to anything I've ever done before either. The closest that I could think of when I was trying to think of what to do was a set of Ahsokas that I did for Ronnie. But as far as a character goes, you know, Graflex sound fonts aren't going to work on this, and Return of the Jedi sound fonts aren't going to work on this, and there really aren't any Ben Solo sound fonts at all. I don't know that there even is one, and if there is, there's probably maybe just one. So I had to dig deep in my collection of sound fonts and find some unique stuff that I don't use real often, but that is, you know, light side and works with the motif, plus kind of sounds like what it sounded like in the movies. And then the blade color, you don't really have much to work with here either, because you don't see the blade of the saber in the movie very much. But what we know, the little that we know, is that it's a light blue, or even a cool white. It's definitely on the bluish whitish side. So knowing that that's, oh, and before we even get to the blade, let me show you guys. The blade connector is Pogo Pin Dimitri Stock Custom Works Neopixel onboard connector. Really love these. But getting back to the blades, I really wanted this saber to be unique in the blade colors, the presets, and the sounds. I didn't want it to be just another Graflex or anything like that. So, digging deep, I found, I don't know, 10 to 15 pretty cool sound fonts that are just different. And I tried to do as many different blades as I could too. So the opening blade is a blue and white audio flicker blade with a yellow flash on clash. And it really looks good. And I think that the color is as close really as I could get to the color that you see for 2.5 seconds in the movie. Next up, this is I think this is steel blue, it might be sky blue. Yellow flash on clash. But another pretty cool sound font. Very different from your standard hum. Different ignition. Third blade up, we got this I think is either Dodger blue or sky blue. The nice tricky hum. I think this is the smooth swing hum effect from Frederick's smooth swing teensy font, which I use a lot in a lot of different applications. It's a really cool swing. Next up, blade 4 is steel blue. The nice heavy-duty, semi-robotic sounding hum. This is a little more on the dark side, but very heavy-duty, really robust and loud sounding. Blade 5. We've got a cyan and white audio flicker blade here. And yellow blaster blocks. It's a really cool looking person. It's got a really semi-high pitched kind of electric hum to it. Blade 7 I think we're at. This is a green-white audio flicker blade. Really nice and sensitive electronics in this guy. And this is actually built with a Teensy Saber V3, not a Profi board, because I had one left. My last Teensy Saber in the world, probably ever, went into this guy. From here on out, it'll be probably all Profi boards because they are roughly the same price, and they're a little bit smaller and they're a bit less work, so why not? This is the standard white strobe blade. This is a standard cyan blade. This is where it gets kind of fun. I did some pretty cool gradient blades in this guy. If you look in the reflection of the monitor, you can really get a better true idea of what the colors are. This guy is green to blue. No, green to cyan to blue to white. It's a nice, ragged hum. Really robust, bassy, heavy-duty hum. This one is maybe my favorite. It's a blue to white gradient blade. But when you're trying to replicate the color of his blade from the movie, this kind of looks a bit like it. Not so much in that it's blue and white, but in person when you're looking at this blade, it looks like it's just a blue blade that's kind of cooling off as it gets towards the tip. And it just looks good. And then of course the Soundfont for this, just weird and different. I think this is one that I made out of mixing and matching different sound fonts and putting things together to kind of create my own. Love that ignition retraction sound. Sounds kind of like a transformer. But very unique. Next up, we've got a blue to cyan gradient blade. And there was an example of the drag function. Watch the tip on this. Kind of hard to see with it as bright as it is in this room right now, but the tip ignites bright white as if you're dragging the blade on the worktop here. Nope, that didn't work. That was the blade lockup. Hopefully you guys caught that. Next up, these are some of my more standard, more typical blades, dark side style blades. This is a Corin Horn Soundfont, bright yellow with a white spark tip, slow ignition. Blue flash on clash. This blade makes an appearance in almost everything I build because I just really like it in person. think we might be missing a sound file. The slow ignition, slow retraction, along with the sound files that are in that for power on, power off, it's just really cool. Next up, this is just a standard heavy-duty Vader-esque red blade. Quick ignition, quick retraction. Really quick. I think that might be the Rogue One Smooth Swing Soundfont. This is the POV blade, the Tiki Torch blade. But the reason I really like this one is because the Soundfont is just excellent. I'm pretty sure this is not Sigil, but it's another one of the Lord Blaco sound fonts that has an interesting name like Sigil, but it's not Sigil. I'll think of it and I'll tell you guys, but next up we've got Fireblade, Yellow Fireblade, Blue Tron Blade, and then something new. This is a new Tron Blade that I did the sound font for, that I built out of a few things. I'm in the middle of something! I think that this was built out of a mashup of the Infinity Gauntlet sound font that somebody did based on the Avengers Infinity Wars movie, but it really lends itself really well to a cycle blade. The power up sound and timing works really well. And then I love the power down. Matches nicely. Next up we've got, battery indicator blade, showing that we're basically full battery, almost. So that means back to the beginning. So that is and was a quick run through of the blades on this guy and the sound fonts. David, let me know what you think on the blade colors and the sound files, as well as what you think about the blade plug options, this guy versus this guy. Bugger. And everybody stay tuned. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned because we've got a whole bunch more coming. Actually, there's a couple other quick items that I did want to show you guys. So, slide to reveal the crystal chamber, but to access the rest of the chassis, simply loosen this set screw so it sticks out a bit. And then, maybe a bit more than that. And then, this section slides right off. Now, we've got access to all the wiring that runs from here to here, which means, and the reason for that is, the sound card is actually up in the top section. I was able to squeeze a massive battery into this guy. This is a Samsung 5000 milliamp hour 2170. And as you can see, there's actually room for more battery in this if you wanted to. You could probably get a 26 650 in here, but I personally like these better. I think they run better, and they run sabers better, and I think their capacities are actually a bit better. 28 millimeter, or am I lying? This might be a 24 or 25 millimeter premium bass speaker in there, and then your recharge port is down here. This door pops off for speaker access. But just a real simple setup down here, but I did want to show you guys the really excellent just amount of area you've got for power storage. You could really put a giant battery in this thing, which is great, because if the battery isn't removable and hot swappable, then you certainly as heck want it to be big, especially when you're working with Neopixels, because they really do drain a battery. But that's this guy in a nutshell. Thank you guys for watching. Paul, your Ben Solo is coming up next. But my general plan is to do much the same for yours. So give me some feedback on your thoughts on this guy as well, Paul. David, give me some feedback on your thoughts. And thank you guys for watching. And stay tuned, because I don't know, 5 or 6 more videos to come.